Evaluation question 4. How did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? I'm going to start off with a list of all of the technology that I used. An 1100D Canon camera, a tripod, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Weebly, YouTube, a Tenor microphone, Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, eMaze, Prezi, Checkly, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, GarageBand, After Effects, Giphy, GIFmaker, iShowU HD, OBS, Mac, PC desktop, PC laptop, Wacom or Bamboo Pad, video converter, FLOV converter, SD cards, USB drives, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drive, Dropbox, Outlook 365, Mediafire, MindMeister, Google, Firefox, iTunes, Sony Nikon camera, Paint.net, SlideShare, Google Images, and Movavi Video Editor 10. Now, each of these I used throughout my evaluation and my research and planning stages, as well as in the construction, and I'm going to tell you how I used each one, as well as go through all of my posts and tell you how I used technology in each one. So we're going to go backwards. So we're going to start off with the evaluations. Now, evaluation question 3 I have not uploaded yet, but in the evaluation question 3, I'm planning to use the same sort of technology as the other evaluations. That's just for the record there. So if we start off at evaluation question 2, I'm just going to list them first and then I'll go into how I use them. So for evaluation question 2, I used Premiere Pro, eMaze, iShowU HD, an Apple Mac, YouTube, a Canon 1100D, Twitter, Google Drive, Google Docs, online video converter, Weebly, and a desktop PC, as well as Google. So let's move on as to how I used them. Premiere Pro I used to edit the video, which is here. I used to edit all of this. I added the titles and I used it to put everything together. Now I feel like I've sort of got a lot better at Premiere Pro, because at the start of this year even, I had absolutely no clue how to use it. I was stuck using Movavi Video Editor, which is down here, which is nowhere near the amount of quality. You can't do as much on it, and it really limited me. So I think that I have definitely improved on that, because I made my whole trailer with it, and I figured out how to add color casts, I figured out how to put things together, use different transitions, create different effects, and I actually really like the level that I'm at now with that. There's still a lot more to learn, but I think that I have improved in Premiere Pro a hell of a lot since even the start of the year. Now, eMaze, I used that in the video here, I believe. Nope, that's not eMaze. Or it might be. Yep, that's eMaze. So I started off using eMaze with basically just an overview of what the similarities between the two were and the synergy. And I used that with eMaze just to sort of bring out what I was talking about and really sort of show you what I was doing there. Again, I used eMaze throughout the year, as I will go through in a minute, and it's just basically a presentation software. You can upload presentations to it or make them on there, and I decided to make them on there. So now, if I work for a company that doesn't, for example, have PowerPoint, I'll be able to go onto eMaze and make some for free. Then the next thing is iShowU HD, which I used towards the end. And when recording the video footage here. So with Imaze as well, I've basically used iShow UHD to record the screen. It's a screen recorder, and when I was presenting the Imaze, I recorded the screen there, and so you could see what was going on. And again, I didn't know about iShow UHD. I'd only used OBS, which is what I'm using now, which isn't a problem really. I don't see it as a problem anyway. They do the same thing, and they sort of they do the same thing, and they're the same quality. So either of them work, and I think I've done well with that. I also used an Apple Mac for near enough the whole thing. Now, I used that to do the editing and to do basically everything on there. I used it to make the poster, I used it to make the magazine, and I used it to make the trailer. The Apple Mac is a lot better at editing things than a PC, simply because that is what it was built for, that's what it was made for, and it's actually used in the industry as well. And I think I've developed that because at the end of last year I knew how to use a Mac, but I wasn't as quick at doing what I could do, and I wasn't familiar with shortcuts and buttons and things like that, whereas now I really am, and I'm actually more suited to using a Mac than I am to using a PC, which last year I thought that Macs were just a bit silly and I didn't really like them, whereas this year I really do, and they are so much better than PCs. Now YouTube. YouTube is what I post all of my trailer analysis on. I post all of my analysis, all of my evaluations, all of my test shots, everything like that, all my rushes. You can see here you've got mag analysis, you've got different versions of the Schism trailer, you've got all of this stuff down here, just all of the footage, rushes, green screen rush, little edits, interviews with my target audience, the animatic storyboard, the footage of the bonfire, absolutely everything is in there, as well as the auditions as well. And so I use YouTube a hell of a lot, but you can see here down at the bottom I also used it last year, so it's not a very new piece of tech to me, but it is very easy to upload onto, and it doesn't often have problems, so I'm really happy about that, and I think I did well with that, but I didn't really improve any skills there. Now the Canon 1100D I used to shoot all of the footage nearly. I used it to shoot the pictures in the videos in the trailer. All of the trailer was shot with a Canon 1100D. I forgot to mention before, actually, I also use a Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, and I used that to take the picture on the poster with the face and the bonfire here. I used a Samsung Galaxy S6 to use that, which it may not seem professional, but I think that it gave me the best effect that I could get at that point as well. Now I've learnt to use the 1100D Canon a lot since last year. I didn't really know any of the settings, I didn't know any of that, but my photography classes as well as my film and media classes really helped me to know what settings were and how to get the best effects that I wanted, as well as how to expose and use aperture and ISO and that sort of thing. And I've really improved how I've used that. The same goes for the Nikon camera, which I also used here. I used the Nikon to take the pictures of the people inside the guy's head, and also to take the picture of David there. So that's another thing I missed off my list there. It's a Sony camera, but I think Nikon have something to do with it as well. But yeah, I didn't know how to use that at the start of the year. It's actually my boyfriend's camera, and I basically took it and had to play around with it and decided that it was really good quality to use with my camera as well. So I used the Nikon there just to get the extra pictures. Then I used Twitter. I used Twitter to get a lot of my feedback, especially from industry professionals such as Josh Stolberg and Lee Winnell, who really liked my final products. They thought they were really professional looking and really good, and they wanted to actually see the film as well. Now, I do respect them a lot, and I think that it gave me more reliable feedback than Facebook, where I just sort of went for my friends and family. But if we look here, I use Twitter as well. If we just scroll along a bit, I'll find out where. I believe it's, I have a picture of David's character, but I'm not exactly sure where it is. But I did use Twitter to get feedback, and I used it, there it is. So I basically used Twitter to put photos across and send photos to myself, because if you try and email pictures to yourself, oftentimes it's too big of a file, and I really didn't want to use up Google Drive space and Dropbox space, because I'd already used a hell of a lot of it. So it was much easier and instant to just send pictures to myself on Twitter via private message. So that's where I used that in my evaluation question 2. Now Google Drive I used for this. This is other connotations of the colours, and it's on Google Drive on a PowerPoint, and I used Google Slides as well to put those up there. Then I used the online video converter to download my I used the online video converter to download different videos if I needed to download something from YouTube, such as previous versions of the trailer or anything like that, or literally anything, any of the footage that I didn't have on me through an SD card, I could download it off YouTube using that as well. Then I used Weebly to update all of my progress. It has absolutely everything that I've done on it. I've blogged everything on it, and obviously that's where I put my evaluation question 2, which is why that's part of the technology used. I also used a desktop PC. I used that just to add things on and to make the posters as well. I did a bit of editing on that, and I also uploaded it to YouTube on my desktop. Then I used Google to sort of search things up, search for Weebly, and Google Chrome is the browser that I use, so I use that as well. I used the Samsung's Galaxy S6, as I said, and the Nikon as well. So just a final list of what I did on my question 2. I used Premiere Pro, Imaze, iShow UHD, Apple Mac, YouTube, Canon 1100D, Twitter, Google Drive, Google Slides, online video converter, Weebly, desktop PC, Google, Samsung, and a Nikon Sony camera, as well as PowerPoint, which is down here, and OBS, which I used to screen capture this. So let's move on to evaluation question 1. Now, here I used Premiere Pro, Imaze, Paint.net, HP Pavilion Desktop, Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, Photoshop, YouTube, Prezi, OBS, Vimeo, MindMeister, Weebly, Scribd, Movavi Video Suite, Online Video Converter, theconversation.com, Google, and iShow UHD. So Premiere Pro I used again to edit each of the videos. Again, I have improved in that, as I said before. I used Imaze in the videos again for the trailer points and things like that, as you can see. I used Imaze there. Then I used Paint.net when I edited screenshots and things like that. So if I took a screenshot of, say, the poster there, I'd use it to just sort of move it down a bit when I couldn't download the picture. I also used it on my I also used it here where the two magazines are side by side, just to sort of, because each picture had a black border, and I kind of wanted them as next to each other as possible and the same size. So I edited them a bit on Paint.net there as well. Now I used a HP Pavilion desktop because I edited the poster one on my desktop and then the other two in college on the Mac. So I also used a Mac as well. Then Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge I used to record the sound of the videos, the voiceovers. Again, which is like technology. It's using cheap technology and technology that may not necessarily be used in the industry, but it also gives me experience of how to keep things cheap and make sure that I can stay below budget and be more resourceful as well. Now, I used YouTube in the way that I said earlier. I uploaded all of my videos to it, including this one, these three. Photoshop I used, again, to sort of edit pictures and things like that and make the titles. Prezi I used to make some of the points about what I was going to use. As well as Emaze as well. So there were a couple of different things there that I used just to sort of support what I was saying, really. Here we go, you can see it here. This is where I edited the picture, and this is where I used the Prezi as well. Then I used Vimeo as well in one of the videos to talk about, I believe it was Todorov's theory here, or I did use it to talk about Todorov's theory, and it's on there somewhere. I can't actually pinpoint it at this moment, but it's there. Here it is. This was Vimeo about Todorov's theory, which it's just another sort of YouTube type thing, but it used different sources and not everyone uses YouTube, so I wanted to have that in there. Then I used Weebly again to post everything onto and to update my progress. And then I used Scribd to get reliable book sources to really put on my my evaluation. It'll be in one of these videos. It's just a matter of trying to find it. There it is, I think. Yeah, here we go. This is the Scribd page where it really talks about what I was talking about there, the Mulvey male gaze theory. Then we've got Movavi Video Suite, which again I used to convert one of the videos that I used in here, one of the trailers, because they weren't the right file type. I then used theconversation.com, which may or may not be the one that I'm on now. It might be. In which case I used Scribd in one of the other evaluations. It's very hard to find them because I went through it so intensely. I have a lot of material in each one. But yes, I did use theconversation.com, which was a film-based resource. Yes, it is this plate about the male gaze. I used Google to get the image of the Scream painting here, which is a Munch painting, and really just to back up my points, as well as this being the browser that I used, as you can see. I then used iShow UHD to record the screen again when I was at college, and I used an Apple Mac at college to edit as well. So just to recap, in evaluation question 1, I used Premiere Pro, Emaze, Paint.net, HP Pavilion Desktop, Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, Photoshop, YouTube, Prezi, OBS, Vimeo, MindMeister, which is the mind maps here. I put throughout. Over here. I also used Weebly, Scribed, Movavi Video Suite, Online Video Converter, theconversation.com, Google, iShowUHD, and an Apple Mac. So now I'm going to go into the main ones that I used. I'll go through them all vaguely, but I'll go into the more common ones in more depth. Now the less common ones, it'll be very, very hard for me to find examples of because I have over 360 posts on my blog. So fishing through all of them to find one post that I used it in is a very difficult thing. So I will just describe to you how I used them. So the less common ones, let's start off with the Tenor microphone. Now at the start of the year, I used the Tenor microphone to record my analysis and all of that sort of thing, and just to record the sound that was in like the analysis and stuff. Purely because I had the microphone and I thought it would be higher quality than my phone. After a while that broke for some reason. I have absolutely no idea why. It just gave up, which is why I switched to using my phone to record the voice. Then we have Checkly. Now I used this for making checklists, which I write on paper very often anyway, but I used Checkly to do the sound effects, the list of sound effects that I needed to complete, what I needed to do over the holidays. I used it to make a list of what I could use for the sound effects, and basically to put everything together in one list that I could tick off easily. I used PowerPoint to create some of the PowerPoints that I uploaded to things like SlideShare, which basically just added information and told my reader about it. I believe I used it for my my animatic storyboard PowerPoint, my storyboard PowerPoint, not my animatic storyboard, my second draft of my storyboard. When I put all the pictures on there, I think I used PowerPoint for that. I used Word for the risk assessments and for typing up the case report as well, and the contracts that I typed up. I used Excel for the production schedule as well as for planning other bits and pieces. I don't really like the technology of Excel. I'm not a very spreadsheet-y person. I much prefer a list than a spreadsheet. Although I do have, is it EDCL or ECDL? So I am qualified to use it, but I still don't really like it. Then we move on to the Bamboo pads, which I used to edit a bit of the poster with, just because it's a bit easier than using a mouse. It's like drawing on a board, and I believe they use them in the industry, and I actually absolutely love Bamboo pads, but I didn't really have full access to them. I only had one lesson where I had access to them, but it really means that you can add more detail in the way that you like, in a more comfortable way that feels like you're writing on paper, really. Let's move on to the FLAV converter, which is basically a version of the video converter that I had to use in college, because the video converter is blocked because it makes pop-ups and it wouldn't download videos, so I had to move on and use FLAV converter. Then we have Snapchat, which I used to advertise the roles at the start of the year. I basically used that just to sort of get the word round a bit, see whether there was anyone who didn't have me on Facebook or Twitter who would like to have a go at being a victim, and I got a little bit of feedback on it once or twice. Then we've got Google Docs, which I used to upload sound clips and some of the things that I made. I didn't really use it very much, but yeah. Same with Google Slides, and the same with Google Drive. I uploaded it there and just sort of shared files with myself. The same with Dropbox. I used that to upload files and store them, and then I could access them on practically any computer. Outlook 365 I used to email videos and clips and pictures and files and voice recordings backwards and forwards to myself, as well as emailing bits and pieces to my teacher as well. So that was really handy. Mediafire I used again to upload and share files with myself that I could access from anywhere, just for a little bit more space. MindMeister I used in the teaser trailer research, as well as in my evaluation questions, just to sort of set out where I was going and what I was doing at the time. Then we have iTunes, which I used to store my sound effects on that I made myself, my Foley. I had to put them into iTunes to put them into GarageBand and use in my final editing. The Sony camera I only used a couple of times to take pictures of the protagonists in the poster in the magazine. Paint.net I used a few times just to sort of crop images. It's nowhere near as advanced as Photoshop, so I didn't really use it as well because it had a lot of downsides to it. SlideShare, again, I mentioned earlier, I used just to sort of share slides, evidently, but I didn't use it much at all. Google Images I used an awful lot, but it's not one of the most important technologies that I used because it's a fairly simple technology to use. I used that to basically get images of magazines that already exist, posters, and to get images that I had uploaded as well. Movavi Video Editor 10, I didn't use much, but it comes with a free video converter, file converter even, which meant I could convert FLV files, which is what my screen recordings save as, into MP4 and things like that, just to upload it to the internet so that I could edit them into my evaluations and into my analysis. I used Vimeo only in the evaluation, as I said before, and the same with Scribd. I used in the evaluations to get a bit of research. So what else did I use that was really quite big and important? Sorry, dropped my pen. So the first thing I used that was really quite a big part of it was an 1100D Canon camera, which, as I said before, I filmed all of the trailer on. I took all of the test shots on, apart from the two faces there. I used it for absolutely everything, apart from the bonfire. And to take these sort of pictures here, I used my phone for those sort of things. But I really did use it, and I really developed how I used it because, as I said, at the start of the year, I had absolutely no idea how to use any of it at all, and I didn't know what anything meant at all. But I've really learned what things mean, what aperture is, what ISO is, what the shutter speed can do, and how many frames per second you should shoot, that sort of thing. I've really learned that and really improved how I've used that. I also used a tripod, of course, because not every shot needs to be handheld, and an awful lot of mine were on a tripod. Just to make it seem more professional and make it really sort of stand out, and not to disrupt the reader. Now some of the audience. Now some of them are handheld. For example, when I did the serial sequence, all of that is handheld. But as we go further on, everything is on a tripod, just to make sure that the audience are nice and engaged there. So Photoshop I used to make every single bit of my poster and my magazine. You can see me using it in a couple of things. If we just go to scroll down a bit, I'm sure we'll be able to find some. I used it to edit my poster and to edit my magazine as well. And it's something that at the start of the year I could do a few things on it. I managed to make my magazine last year, but I couldn't do it as quickly as I can now. Now I could probably make a poster in sort of a couple of hours, and it wouldn't really be something that I'd be challenged with. I am very advanced at Photoshop and I like to learn things, so even though I know how to make a poster, I'll still be looking for more things to learn and things like that. So I think that I've really improved what I can do on Photoshop as well. Now this one isn't sped up, so you can see really what I'm doing. I've learned how to change fonts, I've learned how to use blending options, I've learned how to use filters, I've learned how to make things 3D, which I played around with a little bit. I've learned how to do loads and loads and loads of really cool stuff, blending options, different ways that layers can blend down into each other, blend modes, fonts, all that sort of thing. And I've really been quite happy with that. I also used Dafont, which is a font finder basically, just to add the fonts on there. Then I also used Premiere Pro, which, as I said before, I used to edit absolutely everything in the trailer. So this is me editing my trailer using Premiere Pro. At the start of the year, I hadn't used Premiere Pro at all. I had absolutely no idea how to use it, and now I feel really advanced about it. I feel like I can really go and do it quite quickly and know what I need to do as well. Not only with this subject have I developed it, but I've developed it with my film as well, where I made a short film. And so my editing of the trailer here has really helped me, because I've got way faster at editing, and I know what I'm doing. I don't need to go and Google things and find out how to do them. I don't need to watch tutorials on YouTube. I don't need to have a play around and experiment for myself, because I've really learned how to do things. That doesn't mean that I need to stop learning. Of course, I can always learn more, especially with editing. There's so many different things you can do, but I feel like I've really done it justice there and really learned quite a lot. Now Weebly, I used this last year, of course, to do my my editing last year. If we just go and have a look at my last year's website, here we go, AS Media Blog. Yeah, so you can see here, I used it last year. I used it absolutely I used it last year on everything. I used it for the construction, and I documented it again, the same as this year as well. Whereas, so I haven't really developed it this year, but I have made it link a lot more to my style. Last year, yeah, okay, I had the little picture of the people up here, but it wasn't the same sort of colour scheme as my final products or anything at all, and I didn't have as many, I didn't get rid of the author and the archives and that sort of thing, and I didn't have as many categories in my research and planning, and I wasn't exactly sure how to use it. So this year, I really am sure how to use it. I've got loads and loads of categories. I've worked all throughout the year from May 2017 to April 2018, and I've worked really hard on it, as well as making it the colour scheme quite dark with the black at the top, and using the horror there. We've got Silent Hill on the front. We've got nose header there, and then on the evaluation it's to do with film again as well. So it really links to what I'm doing this year, whereas last year I didn't really link the layout of my Weebly to what I was doing. But again, I've used it to upload to everything at all, everything, absolutely everything. YouTube, again, as I explained earlier, I uploaded every single one of my my analysis, my editing, my drafts, my sound design, my footage, excuse me, my podcasts, test shots, interviews, storyboards, auditions, absolutely everything there. And I think it worked really well. Again, like I said, I haven't really improved on that because I used it last year and I've been using it for absolutely years anyway. But it's just a really nice technology to know how to use and know how to get your way around it. So let's move on to my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, which may not be used in the industry, but it is a good piece of kit just to have on you. It's fairly cheap compared to others, and it actually works really well. I used my sound recorder on it to do a lot of the analysis. I used the camera on it to upload a lot of these these little pictures that I've done of my notes and of my like these things, my to-do list. All of those pictures were taken by my phone, my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. I also used it to access my Twitter, my Facebook, my Snapchat to get feedback, and I used it to upload to Google Drive as well, and to email things back and forth. So it really was quite an important bit of kit. I also used Amaze a lot of the time to upload my PowerPoints to. Gives a bit of information. It really brings out what I was trying to do as well. Same goes for Prezi. I used that a lot to just sort of snazz up my presentations and deliver the information that I was trying to get across in a much more entertaining way that really sort of doesn't get you bored. I also used GarageBand, and I used this to add sound and to make the music for my trailer. Now I do have a video of me editing on GarageBand down here. If you look at sound designing, this is where I added all of my sound effects in. I downloaded some stuff. You can see me using the online video converter there. You see me downloading it and editing things and syncing it up to my video. If I just go a bit further on, you can see me putting the sound effects in. There's me emailing sound effects to myself, and you can really see what I'm trying to do there. So I used GarageBand a lot to create the score and to edit my sound effects in as well. Now After Effects I used to make the intertitles on my trailer. So if we go to the final products, and we look at the intertitles. So here, for example, we have the smoke going across the writing with little embers in them, and I did that because I thought that the embers really linked to the bonfire theme that I had going on. So I really thought that was quite cool. It was quite nice, and I actually got it from a YouTube tutorial, and I thought that it looked really cool. Now I've never actually used Adobe After Effects before, so I suppose that I have increased my knowledge on how to use it and what to do with it, where like I don't think I've learned everything. I don't think I'd know my way around After Effects at all really, but it's a start and it's something to be aware of that I can improve on, which I'm sure I will. Then Giphy and GIFmaker I used to make the GIFs for things like my research and planning, for my first storyboard, which is a long way back, but I'll try and find it while I start talking. So I used it to basically get little clips of shots that I really liked that I wanted to replicate. For example, I made one of the shot in Saw and in Saw 2, where the camera skirts around the person and we get a 360 degree shot, which I actually replicated in my trailer as well by superimposing the footage, as well as doing the same thing, making the camera go around. So I'll just try and find that. Now I've never actually created GIFs before, so I think that it was really quite cool. I also used it for like uploading screenshots and stuff as well. So just so that you could get all the information in one post really easily without having to scroll down and look through galleries and things like that. So if I can find that's where I got GIFmaker from. I just popped a load of videos into it, a load of pictures into it, sorry. Whereas before I wouldn't have known how to do that. So I've really developed what I was doing there. If I scroll down again and try and find the ones of the shots, it's in the it's quite a way back. Like I said, I have over 360 posts. So even though it is organised into categories, it is still pretty hard to find your way around when it's so far back. So I'm just going to skirt on into there. Okay, so here's where I used Giphy. I used it to upload the little clips of the scenes and the shots that I liked. For example, this one, and the writing effect as well. So that's where I used that, and I think I used it quite well. It just really shows you what I was going for there as well. So So let's move on to iShowUHD. Again, I used it to record the screen in a lot of my things. I did the same with OBS, recording the screen when I needed to, including my evaluation and my trailer and analyses and things. Now the Mac I used to edit and to put stuff onto the internet, to do all of this. Same with the PC desktop and the PC laptop as well. I use them all to put information onto the blog and to get access to the internet and to edit and all of this to make my products. The video converter, as I showed you before, I used to download my videos that I had already made and things like that, and previous versions when I didn't have an SD card on me or all of the footage. SD cards and USB drives I used to carry the footage around with me and to store the footage basically, as well as files that I needed. Facebook and Twitter I used to get feedback on what I was creating, which you can see if I go to audience research and feedback. I used Twitter up the top there and Facebook to get feedback on how I was doing. You can see Twitter and Facebook used absolutely all over here, and it just really helped me to target my audience and really get their opinion on what I was making and make tweaks if I needed to from that. So I used those as well. And then Google and Firefox were the browsers and the search engines that I used to access the internet and access all of the websites that I used and the technologies that I used as well. So all of the technologies I used were the 1100D Canon camera, a tripod, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Weebly, YouTube, microphone, Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, eMaze, Prezi, Checkly, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, GarageBand, After Effects, Giphy, GIFmaker, iShowUHD, OBS, Mac, PC desktop, PC laptop, Wacom or Bamboo pads, video converter, FLAV converter, SD cards, USB drives, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drive, Dropbox, Outlook 365, Mediafire, MindMeister, Google, Firefox, iTunes, Sony Camera, Paint.net, SlideShare, Google Images, Movavi Video Editor 10, Vimeo, Scribd, and DaFont. Evaluation question 4. How did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages?